Hey guys, welcome back. And we're going to keep moving. We finished on paragraph 15 in the last video, and we're going to start with paragraph 16 here. So, last time we read, we just got introduced to Eccles, a character who was going to go on safari back in time, and he is just kind of meeting the people who he's going to go on safari with. So right now we're going to read paragraph 16 to 28, and I want you to think about what are you learning about characters and what do you notice about the setting. And so be thinking about characters and setting while I read. They moved silently across the room, taking their guns with them, toward the machine, toward the... Oh, sorry, I clicked something on my computer. They moved silently across the room, taking their guns with them, toward the machine, toward the silver metal and the roaring light. First a day, and then a night, and then a day, and then a night. Then it was day, night, day, night, day. A week, a month, a year, a decade. AD 2055, AD 2019, 1999, 1957, gone. The machine roared. They put on their oxygen helmets and tested the intercoms. Eccles swayed on the padded seat, his face pale, his jaw stiff. He felt the trembling in his arms, and he looked down and found his hands tight on the new rifle. There were 4 other men in the machine. Travis, the safari leader, his assistant, L'Esperance, and 2 other hunters, Billings and Kramer. They sat looking at each other, and the years blazed around them. "Can these guns get a dinosaur cold?" Eccles felt his mouth saying. "If you hit them right," said Travis on the helmet radio. "Some dinosaurs have 2 brains, one in the head, another far down the spinal column. We stay away from those. That's stretching luck. Put your first 2 shots into the eyes if you can, blind them, and then go back to the brain." The machine howled. Time was a film run backward. Suns fled, and 10 million moons fled after them. "Think," said Eccles. "Every hunter that ever lived would envy us today. This makes Africa seem like Illinois." The machine slowed. Its scream fell to a murmur. The machine stopped. The sun stopped in the sky. The fog that had enveloped the machine blew away, and they were in an old time, a very old time indeed. 3 hunters and 2 safari heads with their blue metal guns across their knees. "Christ isn't born yet," said Travis. "Moses has not gone to the mountain to talk with God. The pyramids are still in the earth, waiting to be cut out and put up. Remember that. Alexander, Caesar, Napoleon, Hitler, none of them exists." The men nodded. "That," Mr. Travis pointed, "is the jungle of 60,002,055 years before President Keith." Okay, so we've read 16 through 28. So I want you to pause the video for a moment, and I want you to jot, what would you jot down? What did you learn about characters, and what did you learn about setting? And you can feel free to go back to your copy of the story while you do that. Okay, so hopefully you're restarting the video because you paused to jot. And let's take a look. So when I was thinking about characters and setting, here's what I did. I saw Eccles. He was holding on tight as the machine was going. He was pale. His jaw was stiff. He was trembling. The other guys in there were kind of just like looking around. And the setting, they're going back in time. So they went to 65 million years ago. It does say in there that they started in the year 2055. So that would be 35 years from now. So if you're in 8th grade and you're 14, this would be about when you're about 50 years old, this story. That's crazy. I don't even want to tell you how old I would be. It would be pretty old, just saying. Okay, so when we think about inferences for paragraph 16 to 28, I want you to think about what motivates these hunters to go on this trip. And I know before you guys read the story, I think you did a lesson where you thought about what motivates people to do things, what motivates you to do things, and you worked with a manipulative to figure out, why would people hunt? Do they hunt for food? Do they hunt for companionship, to go on like a Thanksgiving trip with their buddies? So when you look at just paragraph 16 to 28, what are you getting, or what do you think? Why are these men going on this hunting trip in particular? What motivates them to go back in time and go into all this danger? So think about that. And then I'm going to tell you what I think. So I know when we talked about Maslow's hierarchy and you watched that video, one of the things that was in the video that said that might motivate people is esteem or self-actualization. So getting the respect of others and feeling proud of yourself, because it doesn't seem like they're going to eat the dinosaur, so they're probably not hunting for food. And the only reason they wouldn't be safe from the dinosaur, like they didn't have to travel back in time, right? So it's not like the dinosaur's attacking them at their house. They're not really protecting themselves if they put themselves in danger. But it seems like they're really wanting people's respect. And that it's like Mr. Travis says, every hunter that ever lived, or Eckel says, every hunter that ever lived would envy us today, would be jealous of us. So, he's probably doing this because he wants to feel good about himself. Like he wants to feel big and bad. Like he took down a dinosaur. So something to do with his self-esteem. Okay. So we pretty much, for the most part, kind of know what's going on. We know they want to kill dinosaurs and it's dangerous, and that seems to be part of the conflict. And they're back in time, so we kind of have the setting. And so as we move on, we're probably getting more out of exposition and starting it in on the rising action. So we're going to be looking for things like suspense, for tension, and for increased information about what the problem might be. So I'm going to read 29 to 41, and I want you to pay attention to the characters, if you can find anything else about the setting, what the problem might be, and any suspense you notice. So here we go. He indicated a metal path that struck off into green wilderness over streaming swamp among giant ferns and palms. And that, he said, is the path, laid by Time Safari for your use. It floats 6 inches above the earth, doesn't touch so much as one grass blade, flower, or tree. It's an anti-gravity metal. Its purpose is to keep you from touching this world of the past in any way. Stay on the path. Don't go off it. I repeat, don't go off for any reason. If you fall off, there's a penalty. And don't shoot any animal we don't okay. Why? Asked Eccles. They sat in the ancient wilderness. Far birds' cries blew on a wind, and the smell of tar and an old salt sea, moist grasses and flowers, the color of blood. We don't want to change the future. We don't belong here in the past. The government doesn't like us here. We have to pay a big graft. And graft? Bribery. Ooh, bribery. We have to pay big graft to keep our franchise. A time machine is finicky business. Not knowing it, we might kill an important animal. A small bird, a roach, a flower even, thus destroying an important link in a growing species. That's not clear, said Eccles. All right, Travis continued. Say we accidentally kill one mouse here. That means all the future families of this one particular mouse are destroyed, right? Right. And all the families of the families of the families of that one mouse. With a stamp of your foot, you annihilate first one, then a dozen, then 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000 possible mice. So they're dead, said Eccles. So what? So what? Travis snorted quietly. Well, what about the foxes that'll need those mice to survive? For want of 10 mice, a fox dies. For want of 10 foxes, a lion starves. For want of a lion, all manner of insects, vultures, infinite billions of life forms are thrown into chaos and destruction. Eventually, it all boils down to this. 59 million years later, a caveman, one of a dozen in the entire world, goes hunting wild boar or saber-toothed tiger for food. But you, friend, have stepped on all the tigers in that region by stepping on one single mouse. So the caveman starves. And the caveman, please note, is not just any expendable man. No, he's an entire future nation. From his loins would have sprung 10 sons, from their loins 100 sons, and thus onward to a civilization. Destroy this one man, and you destroy a race, a people, an entire history of life. It's comparable to slaying some of Adam's grandchildren. The stomp of your foot, on one mouse could start an earthquake, the effects of which could shake our earth and destinies down through time to their very foundations. With the death of that one caveman, a billion others yet unborn are throttled in the womb. Perhaps Rome never rises on its 7 hills. Perhaps Europe is forever a dark forest, and only Asia waxes healthy and teeming. Step on a mouse and you crush the pyramids. Step on the mouse and you leave your print, like a Grand Canyon, across eternity. Queen Elizabeth might never be born. Washington might not cross the Delaware. There might never be a United States at all. So be careful. Stay on the path. Never step off. I see, said Eccles. Then it wouldn't pay for us even to touch the grass? Correct. Crushing certain plants could add up infinitesimally. A little error here would multiply in 60 million years, all out of proportion. Of course, maybe our theory is wrong. Maybe time can't be changed by us, or maybe it can be changed only in little subtle ways. A dead mouse here makes an insect imbalance there, a population disproportion later, a bad harvest further on, a depression, mass starvation, and finally, a change in social temperament in far-flung countries. Something much more subtle, like that. Perhaps only a soft breath, a whisper, a hair, pollen on the air. Such a slight change that unless you looked close, you wouldn't see it. Who knows? Who really can say he knows? We don't know. We're guessing. But until we do know for certain whether our messing around in time can make a big roar or a little rustle in history, we're being careful. This machine, this path, your clothing and bodies were sterilized, as you know, before the journey. We wear these oxygen helmets so we can't introduce our bacteria into an ancient atmosphere. Wow. So that was pretty intense, right? He really kind of got wild with that lecture there. So let's think about what can we jot down? What did we find out about characters, about problem, about setting in 29 through 41? And suspense. So for suspense, they spend a lot of time talking about things that could go wrong. And so when they do that, or the author, when the author spends a lot of time saying, hey, this could go wrong, and that could go wrong, and this thing could be bad, and then this is what's going to happen, it makes the reader think that something's going to go wrong. And so that increases suspense, it increases tension in the story by making us think like, holy cow, this could really go wrong. For characters, we find out that Travis knows a lot. And Eccles doesn't seem to take it all seriously. He keeps saying, like, why? Who cares? What's the big deal? And then Travis is really pushing back and explaining this is why it's a big deal. And for setting, we know that we started in 2055 and we're 65 million years before that. And so when we think about what inferences could we make for this section, again, what could it be foreshadowing, right? Because they keep talking about things going wrong and things going wrong. So I would like you to think about what could be foreshadowed here. And I'm going to say that when I kind of thought about it, Travis spent a lot of time talking about what would happen if someone stepped off the path. So my guess would be somebody's going to step off, right? That's my prediction. I don't know if it's true, but he spent a lot of time talking about that, so it seems like something that might happen. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this section of the video now, and then we'll do the third part of section 1 next.